Hey guys, my name is Molly, and I'm on a journey to lose 100 pounds because I'm a little fatty, and I have always been a little fatty. I have either been overweight or obese my entire life, so as a kid growing up, I was a little bit different than my classmates and had to do things a little bit differently than my classmates or experience things differently. And today I figured I would share with the entire internet all the embarrassing things that I did as a little fat kid, particularly in elementary school. So everything I'm going to share with you was like really embarrassing for me growing up in elementary school. And now that I look back on them as an adult, it's more cringy than embarrassing maybe. So these are things that I just think about sometimes, mainly at 3 a.m. when I'm trying to go to sleep, but my brain wants to think about all the embarrassing things that have ever happened to me ever in my life. And just a really quick disclaimer, I am not fat shaming anyone. I am not saying that if you experience these things that you should be embarrassed of yourself or that it's unacceptable to be fat, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's like not what I'm saying at all. These are just me sharing my experiences with you guys and hope that we can all have a good laugh at the end of the day. Even if it means that that laugh is at my expense, that's what I'm willing to do for you guys because I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. So without further ado, here are the 10 things that I did and experienced growing up as a little fat kid. So the very first thing that I did was I would always measure my spaces. And what I mean by that specifically, I remember the school bus, how there would be benches on the left and right side, and then there'd be that little alley that you have to walk through to get to your seat. I barely, like hairline, barely fit through the alley sometimes or the walkway. And I remember every single summer being so afraid that I would gain weight over the summer and not be able to fit through the alley. And so I would like measure like, okay, I can get like this fat before I can't fit down the alley anymore. And I would have to like rotate to the side and just kind of like shimmy my way down the alley to fit into the little booth. So I would like measure how big I could be and still fit down the alley. Not only did I do that with the walkway of the school bus, I would also be so afraid that after summer break I wouldn't be able to fit in the desk anymore. And we had like the old school desk that had like the plastic chair with the metal bar that was attached to the, you know, that was attached to the tabletop desk area, and that metal pole was just not big enough for me. So many kids could like stick an entire pencil between the stomach and their tabletop, and I had like this much extra room. I was barely making it. So I would be so afraid that I would not be able to fit because there were some desks that I swear had a shorter metal bar that my stomach would like touch the tabletop of the desk and I wouldn't really be able to fit in the desk. I loved the classes where you had an actual table and actual seats and no metal bars, because that meant I could eat as much chocolate as I wanted to during summer and not have to worry about fitting into those desks. So yes, number one, I always tried to measure my spaces to see if I could fit. So the second embarrassing thing that I experienced in elementary school and middle school was PE in general. In elementary school, we would play flag football all the time, like several times a week. And we would wear these belts that went around our waist and they had 3 little flags on the belt. And as you were running down the football field, you would try and pull somebody's flag to rip off the belt, and that would signify that you won their belt in the game. Anyway, every single kid, of course, just weared one belt. Weird. And since my waist was as big as the equator, my thick butt had to wear 2 belts. So yes, I had to buckle in one belt and then buckle in another belt to make 2 belts. So I was the only kid on the entire football team that had 6 flags. Everyone was running around with 3 flag belts and I had 6, which made it very, very obvious that I did not fit in those belts and I had to wear 2. So congratulations to whoever was able to rip off my belt. I'm sure it was a super easy win considering I couldn't even run away from you. Yeah, I guess you won double points. Not only would we have to wear those belts for flag football, we also had like these mesh jerseys that we would have to wear for whenever we were playing on a team of basketball, soccer, whatever we were doing. We would have to put on these little mesh jerseys to signify the team that we were on. And I never fit into these jerseys. They did not make these jerseys big enough for me. So my way around this was I would literally have to take the shirt and tie it around my wrist and wear it around my wrist. I was the only kid who didn't fit into a jersey, and yeah, I felt very singled out. But I guess that could be good because they never knew whose team I was on if I just like, you know, hid my jersey. So I could just be kind of like a free agent. Oh boy. So yeah, that was the loophole that I had to deal with in elementary school gym class. So the third embarrassing thing that I experienced in elementary school gym class was we often had to wear pedometers, and of course everyone wore their pedometer around like the waistband of their shorts, pants, whatever they were wearing, but I unfortunately could not do that because my fat rolls of my stomach would overlap onto the pedometer and it would not register my steps. So to combat that, I would have to wear my pedometer on the shoelaces of my shoe. So I was the only kid walking around with a pedometer on my shoe. But that one actually worked out to my advantage pretty well because I could just sit there all of gym class just tapping my foot and rack up them steps. So who's laughing now? The fourth embarrassing thing I did as a fat kid was I would often hold my breath so that people didn't think that I was out of breath. So like in school we would have to run up the stairs because we only had like 4 minutes in between class. So you would have to bolt up them stairs, like 3 flights of stairs you would have to run up in like 2 minutes to make it in time for class. And I'm sure a lot of kids were out of breath, but I, being as heavy as I was super out of breath just going up 2 steps, let alone 2 flights of stairs. So I would literally hold my breath until my face was probably purple just so that people wouldn't think it was a strenuous activity as it was for me. And yeah, I was just sitting there in class like hoping people wouldn't realize how out of breath I was, because I thought that sitting there struggling holding my breath was better than me breathing a little bit heavy from going up the stairs. And unfortunately, that's a bad habit that stuck with me into adulthood. Like if I'm going hiking, I will literally be so out of breath from hiking and someone will pass me, I'll just be like, that's a really pretty tree. Really pretty tree. So that they wouldn't think that I am out of breath from hiking, even though hiking we are all equally as out of breath. I would still hold my breath and pretend like I was the one that was so physically fit that I did not need to take any breaks from exercising and that I just never breathed heavy, ever. So the fifth embarrassing thing that I did as a little fatty in school was I would often skip field trips just because there wasn't like a whole lot to do around here. The teachers didn't really know what to do for field trips. So pretty much all of our field trips were outdoors. We would basically walk from the school to like an ice cream shop, or we would walk to a park, and these parks or ice cream stores were always so far away from the school. We would literally have to walk like 3 miles one way just to get to where we're going. And your girl was not about walking 6 miles to a park, to play in a park, and then walk 3 miles back to school. So I will be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I got a fever, I got a cough.
My throat's sore. I've had a sore throat for a month and a half.
I can't make it to school for this one day. And of course my teachers would call me out the next day and be like, oh, you weren't feeling good yesterday, but you're feeling okay now? And be like, yeah, it was a really quick recovery. And I would just skip all of the field trips that required exercise. Sorry, not sorry. If you're inviting me to walk 6 miles for no reason, like, you homegirl not about it. I'm sorry, but I'd rather stay home and watch Judge Judy and Jeopardy all day. The 6th embarrassing thing that I did as a little fatty is piggybacking off my 5th thing is friends would invite me out to go hiking or to go walk around the mall or do anything physical, and I would have to make up some crazy weird excuse as to why I could not go hiking or go exercise with my friends. And looking back, I can't remember what the excuses were that I used, but I am sure they were so bad. Like, I could only imagine what 8-year-old Molly would say to a friend as to why I couldn't go walk around the mall with them. My dad's coworker's son is in town and I just can't go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My mom said that she needs me to help her mop the floor. I can't go to the park with you. I'm sorry. The 7th embarrassing thing I would do as a little fatty in school was I would never run for the bus. I would rather let the bus pass me than have to sit there and run in front of everyone on the bus to try and catch the bus. I'd be like, you know what, that's fine. I'll catch the next one. The next one isn't for another hour. That's fine. I'll wait. I got nothing better to do than wait an hour for the next bus. It's fine. That would even carry into adulthood, unfortunately, and I would just not catch the city bus and let the city bus pass me and just catch the next one. Your girl was not running for no buses. The 8th embarrassing thing I would do as a fatty was I would always worry about sweat stains, specifically, like, okay, this is really embarrassing and maybe TMI, but I would sit in a chair and I don't know if I just had like a really sweaty butt. I was always worried that when I sat in a chair that there would leave like sweat stains in the chair, and a lot of times there were sweat stains in the chair, and it was just the most embarrassing, humiliating thing that I experienced, having to like get out of the chair and then everyone look at the sweaty chair that I just got out from and just being so embarrassed. I don't know how you can recover from a sweaty butt. There's really nothing you can say. The 9th thing I would do as a kid was I would never stay for dinner or lunch at a friend's house. I would make some excuse as to why I have to go home before they were gonna have dinner, just because I would see the portion sizes at lunch or what my friends were eating and realize, wow, I could easily eat like 4 of these portions, and I realized that was not normal. And if that's what they're eating for lunch, that's probably what they're eating for dinner, and there's no way that that would fill me as a kid. So I would just be like, nah, I'm good. I'm allergic to literally anything you're about to make for dinner. I have to go home. The 10th and final thing I can remember doing as a little thickums in school, and this is kind of piggybacking off of number 9, but I would eat a bunch of food before going to school or right before going to a friend's house, because I knew that whatever they were serving for lunch or whatever I was gonna have for dinner at my friend's house was just not gonna be enough for me. So I would just binge eat and gorge whatever I could find at home before going to school or my friend's house. Pretty much anything to last me the entire day, just because I knew that my fat butt was always going to be hungry throughout the day and just be constantly thinking about my next meal. So I tried to beat them to it. Like, I remember one time going to a friend's house and actually staying for dinner because she didn't believe any of my excuses and just held me hostage for dinner basically. And her older sister was making the meal because she was learning how to cook, and I remember she made 1 box of Kraft macaroni and cheese and like some frozen vegetable or canned vegetable, just one thing of vegetables and one box of mac and cheese. And she was serving herself, myself, my friend that I was, stayed at the house with, and she had 2 other siblings. So she was serving 5 people off of one box of mac and cheese and one thing of vegetables. Now, even as an adult, I know that that's not enough food, and I was just, as a kid, just mind blown. When I found out she was making mac and cheese, I was so excited. Who doesn't love mac and cheese? And then I saw her just get out one box of mac and cheese from the pantry, and I was like, there's still like 4 boxes in the pantry. Like, are you sure you don't want to go get those? Like, I can't speak for you guys, but I know that I can eat an entire box of mac and cheese by myself in one sitting, no problem. So I don't know how you're gonna make that last amongst 5 people. On a separate occasion, I remember going to a friend's house and her mom had just came back from the store and she had bought a huge bag of popsicles, like the twin pops that had like the 2 popsicle sticks and the popsicle stuck together, and she gave us a popsicle and we had to split it. So we literally had like to break the popsicle apart, and each kid only had like 1/2 of the popsicle. And I'm just like, I remember looking at her like, where's the other 8? I didn't realize that it was abnormal to like not eat several popsicles in one sitting, or to like break it in half and just have one portion of a popsicle. Like, I could seriously eat an entire box of popsicles by myself. So yeah, I guess that experience just like scarred me from ever wanting to eat at someone's house, just because I would just have to like pretend that it was so good and I was so full. I was so satisfied, like totally not room for dessert or 7. As I grew older and became an adult, I realized that a lot of these things weren't normal, and I was able to kind of correct my portion sizes and realize that going out with friends to exercise was a really good thing, and I really should have just gone with them and had those experiences with them and not been so lazy. Because although staying home and binge watching Judge Judy while eating Cheetos was super fun, it taught me some pretty bad habits for adulthood. So I also learned as an adult that elementary schools definitely need to be more inclusive with their jersey sizes or belt sizes. Just saying. Again, thank you guys so much for watching my video today. If you like the content, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next week.